In Crime 101, a meticulous jewel thief operates under a strict code, pulling off high end heists along the California coast. But as a determined detective starts connecting the dots, a tense game of cat and mouse begins. This was an excellent movie. I remember seeing this with a friend. I mean, I was hyped up. I went to we went to the movie theater to see it, obviously, and I'd seen some of the trailers. I saw like maybe 30 seconds of the trailer and cut it off. I was like, I'm going to see this movie. I already knew. So we went in there, and then afterwards, I remember just being like, seeing the credits roll and just being like, wow, this was an incredible movie. And I kept thinking about it like later that night, like days afterward. And that's how I know it's a great movie, when it kind of hangs with you. Now, one of the things that I really loved about this movie was the dialogue. The dialogue is like, there's like a rhythm to it, and in some movies it's like kind of cheesy, or it just feels like they're trying to force you to get to a certain place, In this one, the dialogue felt like there's a certain rhythm to it that seemed kind of unconventional, like normal, not normal people speak, but in a sense, like obviously movies are a little more clean cut with the dialogue, like there's not ums and uhs and all that, but there's like a certain rhythm to it, between like a lot of the characters, and I just thought that was like it just, I don't even know how to really describe it. It just, there was a rhythm to the dialogue, and it didn't sound like traditional movie dialogue.
No photos of family, or do you have any?
Well, photos?
No, family.
Yeah.
The other thing as well is that, you have, there's like a lot of things that are kind of unsaid. In regular speech, right? Regular like human interaction, right? You obviously have what people are saying, but the other thing is you kind of have body language that kind of plays into that. So a lot of times someone may say something, hey, how you doing? I'm doing well. But the way they say it, and then their body language may say something, completely different. And I just thought that like the movie did such a great job, like with the characters showing all of these different types of just body language kind of cues or whatever. So it was like they'll say something, but they also said a lot just with their body language, and that kind of carried a lot of scenes as well.
I don't know. We didn't really have a lot of stuff growing up, and whatever we did have, I didn't really keep any of it. So.
And just, being able to carry a scene through with for one, the dialogue, but also like just the body language as well. Because a lot of scenes, there was so much like important things that happened in the movie in Crime 101. And a lot of it, they said with their faces or with their eyes, So Davis, the main character, he's played by Chris Hemsworth, and even him, like with him and, his girlfriend that he meets, right? Or he meets a girl and eventually they start dating and all that. Like, there's so many scenes where they say something, but they also say a lot with like their body, like with the head tilt, or just with, just traditional body language stuff,
What?
There was so much that was said when nothing was said. You know what I mean? The movie obviously is kind of centered around like a heist, right? This guy is basically, committing all these crimes on the 101 strip, So, but the whole thing is the characters were so well done. You know what I mean? Like these felt like real people, and something that I just really loved just with this movie and other movies as well, especially this movie, is that, and one of the things I thought that made it so good is that they don't like over explain the characters. They don't have these like cheesy, weird backstories where they stop everything dead, stop the movie dead and explain all this extra stuff about his past. And, they don't have anything where they're, they don't have anything where they aren't explaining, who this character is and all this stuff in dialogue. There's not all this exposition. Like, there's very, very little of it. So basically you're getting all these characters. You're getting, Chris Hemsworth, Halle Berry, Barry Keoghan. You're getting all these people. Mark Ruffalo's in it as well. He's a detective. You're getting these people kind of where they are, and you learn about them as they interact with other people in the movie.
Well,
You look like a person who has secrets.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Your shirt's new or newly pressed, which says you don't do your own laundry or you're a bit OCD.
Basically, this movie is kind of like it feels really natural to me. And again, I think it was based off a book or a novella as well. That's where they kind of based it off of. There was an original kind of I think a book called Crime 101, and then they based the script off of that. Which could be a reason why the characters feel so like real, is just because they don't have this fake exposition. They just, you see them as they are. The movie starts and you learn about them as they interact with the world around them and with other people. And I thought that was just the way it was done was just so well done. Another thing I really loved about this movie is just the camera shots and the lighting. This really felt like a smaller kind of film on like a bigger scale. And I just really loved that. The camera shots were beautiful. The lighting is beautiful. It's in LA, but like the shots, it's just sometimes it's like the colors in Chris Hemsworth's apartment, like a lot of the colors, everything was so rich.
For someone who likes things, you don't really have a lot of personal stuff.
The roads, the angles of everything. I mean, there's a scene where Chris Hemsworth is trying to chase this guy in his car. Barry Keoghan is trying to chase Barry Keoghan in this car, and the scene is like very intense, but it's filmed in like a very kind of almost old school way, right? You feel the engine, you feel like the noises, you feel like right up with Chris Hemsworth as he's driving. You know what I mean? You feel like right into the action. And just some of the shots are just beautiful to watch. And it's just kind of like just stuff you don't normally see. There's like a quality to it that you don't normally see with a lot of movies. Sometimes they just kind of just get these big kind of medium wide shots and almost like a sitcom type of almost like a sitcom style of shooting you see with some movies, where there's just these big wide kind of shots and they just refer back to these, and there's a couple close-ups and they go back to the master shot and all that. This one just felt like, I mean, I could be wrong, but this felt like it took forever to shoot because there were so many kind of unique shots to it. There wasn't like this big old shot they keep going back to, then they switch to, another close-up. There was a lot of unique angles and things like that, which I thought just made the movie even more interesting and almost like just thrilling as well, because it just looks like you're not used to it the way it looks. Like I wasn't used to the way it looked. I'm used to like these big movies having just kind of like, okay, we're gonna see this, now we're gonna see that shot, now they're gonna go wide. This one was like very different with the shots, and the movie overall was excellent, but just the camera angles as well were just made it just very interesting. Now, the movie itself, it does have some slower moments, but I think they were like well needed. I mean, there's movies that I've seen, like a lot of movies in the 90s. Let's say, I hate to kind of, I don't hate to bring it up, but I just love this movie so much. Heat, from the 90s, the movie Heat. There's a lot of like slower scenes in that movie where they're eating dinner and things like that. But it's like necessary and it works like really well. And with Crime 101, it's almost like the same thing. There's a lot of scenes that are a little slower, like it's not all fast paced, but you kind of need it because you need these people, like with Chris Hemsworth and his girlfriend, right, in the movie, with Davis, he plays Davis, and then with his girlfriend, right, they're talking, they're having these scenes, and some of them are like slow, kind of not a whole lot is like happening in terms of like, action or really even just stuff with like moving like the, the quote unquote plot forward. Some of it's just like them getting to know each other, and there's like a, trying to understand how each other just trying to understand how each other works, and trying to understand, their different perspectives and just different communication things. They have a lot of like kind of communication, I wouldn't say issues, but they're learning how each other is, so like, but you're seeing some of that tension, and sometimes it's good, like it's not like always like bad things as far as like, oh, their relationship is turning sour or something. But when they're talking to each other, you can kind of clearly see in the scene, like, okay, like they're trying to understand how each other works, how they talk, like what they're referring to when they say certain things, maybe there's something with their body language and they're trying to figure each other out, It's just there's so many like little kind of micro things, just like in real life when you meet people and you talk to people. There's all these micro things happening with the body language combined with like what they're saying as well. And I feel like Crime 101 like really captured that as well. So I thought that was just it's like a masterful way they did it, where you capture all those little things in the scene. And that's why I think, a scene that's slower is still really good because there's so much stuff happening. It's just on like a person to person level. It's not like a moving the plot forward. It's not like this movie isn't like we're going to rob the bank. Let's rob the bank. And then plot point, boom, boom. It's not really like that. Like there's obviously, Chris Hemsworth is, he's robbing places or, or what have you. But like, that's such a small part in the movie itself. And that's another thing that I kind of, that I want to bring up with this movie. You have the bank robberies, or well, they're not bank robberies, but you have just, heists basically that are happening. But that's like one section of the movie, like that's happening. And then there's other things happening all around it, So you have the heist and all that, but then you have, how this character's the main character, how he's dealing with this girl that he met. And he's also trying to deal with his past, and she's trying to figure out his past, and that's interesting. That could be a whole movie by itself. And then you have, Halle Berry who's in it. She's playing like this lady that works in insurance, right? Kind of like high risk type of stuff. And you're kind of learning about her life as well. And that could be a whole movie as well, but it's kind of intertwined into this movie. So you have all of that kind of going on, and you have all this other stuff going on as well. It's just there's so many things kind of happening all at once, and everything feels so complicated, but it feels like a real life situation. It's not just like we're going to, do this heist, you know what I mean? And, it also kind of reminds me of Heat as well, where, there's obviously, with Heat, there's this heist going on, but at the same time, there's all these other things. There's a relationship. There's all this other stuff happening, And I think Crime 101 kind of captured that as well, and it really feels kind of like a distant cousin to Heat just because of that. It's so complicated, like everything happening in the movie, but it's shot so well and it captures these characters' relationships. And there's also this tension that happens when, Davis, the main character, is doing these heists, like it's not one of those movies where the guy's just like some kind of like no emotionless, freak of nature that's just built for this. You know what I mean? Like you could tell he's done this over and over and over again, but the guy is like, he still gets nervous.
Like Steve McQueen.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve McQueen. It's funny, a guy your age wouldn't normally know who Steve McQueen is.
I grew up watching those movies.
When you notice that he feels that, you're like, oh, okay, this adds some real realism to it. This feels like a real movie. Crime 101 was excellent anyway. So just a lot of things to love about it, and just highly, highly, highly recommended. It's a movie that really kind of puts you in the scene there, and it's very memorable as well, overall. And the other thing too is it's pretty rare to see such a big movie. It's just a high quality movie with so many good actors in it, so that's the other thing too. I'm not gonna lie, I saw Chris Hemsworth in it and I was like, okay, I knew it looked good, but I thought it was gonna be kind of just another kind of thriller, it's like an okay thriller, that's just okay, let me go see it. This looks pretty good. But it was like a very kind of like a quality movie. It wasn't like it wasn't one of those movies where if you're half asleep, you can follow it. You really got to be paying attention and locked in. So, yeah, great movie and highly recommend.